In my previous life, I resorted to underhanded tactics to coerce Lu Kongwen into taking responsibility for me and marrying me. I seduced him with my charms to the point where he was utterly infatuated and couldn't resist my body, which prevented him from seeking out his childhood sweetheart time and again. Unfortunately, back then I didn't understand that those who manipulate with seduction often see their affection and grace fade away. A forced marriage call from the childhood sweetheart made him abandon me on a deserted island thousands of miles away without a second thought. That night, a tsunami ravaged the island, and I was forever buried beneath the sea. Reborn, I find myself straddling his abs. Fortunately, I haven't made any grave mistakes yet. I'm sorry. I slept with the wrong person. I'll leave immediately. I blurted out. Lu Tsongwen's eyes shattered with emotion, his voice trembling and hoarse. Ji Yunru. Other than me, who else do you want to sleep with? His grip on my slender ankles left faint red marks, trapping my fleeing body. Lu Kongwen, let me go, I demanded, ignoring my pleas. He forcefully dragged me back beneath him. Ji Yunru, wasn't it you who drugged me? What's this? Playing hard to get now? His expression was dark, his lips tightly pursed, the tense line of his jaw and the bulging veins on his neck were filled with intense energy, as if he could shatter me in the next second. It hurts, I murmured softly, tears of pain following. Lu Kongwen eased his actions but still showed no intention of letting me go. His rough fingertips gently massaged the corner of my eye, his gaze dim, his voice slightly hoarse, dressed so provocatively. Isn't it to seduce me? Having been his lover for 7 years in my previous life, I knew well that his tense body was on the brink of succumbing to his desires, ready to devour me completely. Then we would be unexpectedly discovered by a high school classmate, forcing Lu Kongwen to get engaged to me. After that, to win his heart, I had no choice but to use my looks and figure as bait, constantly trying to captivate him. Yet, he always remained indifferent, delaying our marriage. Thinking of my previous life, the suffocating sensation of the cold seawater filling my throat made me shiver, a chill running down my spine. The love-struck fool I was in my previous life had been killed by the seawater. I would not make the same mistakes again. I tried to push him away with both hands, urgently explaining, I'm sorry, Lu Kongwen, I slept with the wrong person, let go of me, and I'll leave immediately. Hearing my words, Lu Tsongwen's eyes flickered, but he quickly regained his composure. He lowered his body, his hot breath on my lips, a hint of mockery in his voice. Ji Yunru, other than me, who else do you want to sleep with? I was at a loss for words. Lu Tsongwen's relentless pursuit since our high school days was well known throughout the school and had become a widely known joke among our classmates. Under such circumstances, who else could I possibly sleep with? I was racking my brain to come up with a name when the door was knocked. A gentle, cool voice came through. Kongwen, are you in there? It was Ji Yunue, my half-sister and also Lu Tsongwen's childhood sweetheart. He was the one she couldn't stop thinking about, her unattainable moonlight. In a previous life, after getting engaged to me, Lu Kongwen remained entangled with Ji Yunue. Whenever Ji Yunue called him in the dead of night, frightened by thunder, Lu Kongwen would drive for hours just to be by her side. Blinded by my love for him, I resorted to the foolish tactic of seductively clinging to him, begging for his affection each time he reached for his car keys. This approach worked until our honeymoon, when Ji Yunue claimed that her family was forcing her into an unwanted marriage and she decided to resist even if it meant death. Ultimately, Lu Kongwen left me behind. Kongwen, are you in the room? The class monitor went to get the room card and will be back soon. Unlike my naturally seductive demeanor, Ji Yunue always resembled the cool, distant moon among clouds, her personality and voice carrying a fragile chill, the kind that evokes a protective instinct in men. In moments of passion, Lu Kongwen would whisper in my ear, Ruru, your beauty stirs up a desire in me to dominate, to see you in pain and tears. Lu Tsongwen's friend once said, Ji Yunue is the kind of respectable girl one marries, but Ji Yunru is only good for a fling, not for marriage. Previously, due to Ji Yunue's indifferent demeanor towards everything, including Lu Kongwen, I failed to notice the connection and affection between them. I intervened, I broke up the lovers. And it cost me my life. In this life, let everything go back to its original path. Lu Tsongwen's body grew hotter, his gaze more intense, and his lips fervently met my collarbone, like a scorching rain. Lu Kongwen, come to your senses. I'm not Ji Yunue, let me go. He seemed irritated, unwilling to listen, and fiercely bit my lip, silencing my protests. In despair, I kicked him hard. Part 2, Ji Yunru, if you dare leave, I'll kill you. Lu Kongwen, bend over in pain, roared from behind. I paused, then leapt out the window. Staying meant death. I found the class monitor and had her deliver the room card to Ji Yunue before leaving, creating a chance for them to be alone. If Ji Yunue couldn't push Lu Kongwen away, they'd end up together by the end of the night. Then, my father would ensure justice for Ji Yunue, making Lu Kongwen marry her. Perhaps then, Lu Kongwen would be grateful, and I might escape the control of the Ji family, having arranged all this. I leisurely returned to the graduation party. Today was the first day to check university entrance exam results. In a past life, both Lu Kongwen and Ji Yunhue were top students who got into the prestigious capital university together. To be with Lu Kongwen, I studied tirelessly, significantly boosting my academic scores, plus a bonus for my dance skills, just enough to join the dance program at Capital University. Lu Kongwen and I got engaged over the summer and his family bought us a house near the university. I devoted myself to creating a tender home life for Lu Kongwen, neglecting my own studies. Ji Yunhue, maintaining her cool, top student persona, remained the perpetual beloved ache in Lu Sungwen's heart. I returned to the party room, and as I sat down, the teacher raised a glass to me. Ji Yunru, congratulations on finally making it to the same university as Lu Kongwen. You're a brave girl in my eyes, daring to do anything for the boy you love, but as someone who's been through it all, I must tell you to chase love bravely, but don't forget to enrich yourself and always be a clear-headed, independent woman, the teacher advised, holding my glass. My eyes suddenly welled up with tears. It's only after being reborn that I realized how profound my teacher's words were. It's a pity that in my past life, I never had the chance to hear them. Even if I had, I wouldn't have grasped their deep meaning. Now that fate has given me a second chance, I am determined not to let my teacher down. Thank you, teacher. I will remember your words, I said, before I could compose myself. The class president hurried into the room and whispered in my ear. I gave the keys to Ji Yunhue and left, but Lu Kongwen has called an ambulance. I frowned in confusion. Is Lu Kongwen foolish? He's missing such a good opportunity. The class president, Qiao Qiao, a girl who loved gossip, immediately pulled me to eavesdrop next to Lu Sungwen's room. Crash. It was the sound of a water glass shattering. It seemed that Lu Kongwen was beginning to lose control of himself. Then came Ji Yunhue's soft, frail voice. Kongwen, I'm willing. Please stop torturing yourself. It hurts me to see you like this. Lu Kongwen struggled to speak. Yunhue, stay away from me. Ji Yunhue rushed to hug him. Why, Kongwen, I don't need you to take responsibility. I just can't bear to see you suffer. Lu Kongwen forcefully pushed her away. Yunhue, please don't come any closer. I'm not in my right mind. I don't want to hurt you. I gave a bitter smile. So that was it. No wonder they say love is like a hand that reaches out only to pull back again. Because he didn't love me in my past life. Lu Kongwen pressed me down without hesitation, ignoring my pleas and tormenting me over and over again, nearly leaving me with psychological scars. But with his beloved Ji Yunhue, even though he was nearly fainting from the pain, he still desperately tried to stay conscious because he couldn't bear to touch her. Medical staff arrived and started heading this way. I took Xiao Qiao and turned to leave. I was sure now I no longer loved Lu Kongwen, yet, seeing his attitude towards Ji Yunhue felt like a stone was pressing on my chest. I couldn't breathe. This must be the melancholy of unrequited love. After that gathering, I didn't go out again. At the dinner table, my dad told my stepmom that Lu Kongwen, the only son of the Lu family, had been drugged and hospitalized. My stepmom was shocked. Who would dare to drug him? Don't they know about the Lu family's formidable power? My dad sighed deeply. Mr. Lu has ordered severe punishment for the person responsible, but young Master Lu refuses to say who it was, my stepmom said. Well, why bother with all that? This is a perfect opportunity to get closer to the Lu family. Yunhue, why don't you and your mom go visit Lu Kongwen at the hospital later? Aren't you his classmate? Try to find some common topics with him. See if you can develop a relationship with this heir of a wealthy family. My stepmom smiled cunningly. Ji Yunhue obediently nodded. Dad then said, why don't you take Yunru with you too? With both going, the chances of success might be higher. My stepmom scoffed. Why bring her? Look at her, all dolled up. Do you think the Lu family elders would fancy such a vulgar vixen? My father bowed his head and said nothing, offering me no defense. I put down my chopsticks. I have errands to run today. I won't be going. I went to the immigration office to apply for a passport. When I returned, my stepmom was sitting on the couch, visibly upset, venting to my dad, Yunhue, and I carefully selected several gifts to take to the hospital to visit young Master Lu. But guess what happened? They told us that all visits were politely declined. I told the security guard at the door that we were from the Ji family of Haicheng, and that my daughter Yunhue and Lu Kongwen were classmates. The guard said he would check inside. After a while, the guard came back out, asked for our names, and then went back inside to report. A bit later, he came out again and told us that the young master needed to rest now. We could leave the gifts, and he would personally come to thank us once he had recovered. Isn't this just leading us on? Said the stepmother, visibly upset and breathing heavily. Dad comforted her by rubbing her back. It's good that he accepted your gifts. I heard that recently everyone trying to visit young Master Lu was turned away, and not even their gifts were accepted. The fact that he accepted ours shows that Yunhua still holds significant influence. Upon hearing this, the stepmother's face lit up with joy. Really, does Yunhue really have that much clout? Does this mean there's hope for her to marry into the Lu family? There's hope, definitely. Didn't the young master say he would visit us personally in a few days? What does that tell you? It shows he's interested in Yunhue, Dad said, his eyes crinkling with a smile. Yunwei, your dad hasn't spoiled you for nothing, this is giving your old man a lot of pride. Once you marry into the Lu family, our status in Haicheng will rise even further. Sitting across on the sofa, Yunwei blushed and shyly called out, Dad, oh, my daughter is shy, he chuckled. The family was filled with laughter and joy, of course. This happiness had nothing to do with me. In my first year of high school, my mother died of cancer, before the mourning period was even over. My father brought home Wu Qing, a woman from outside, along with her daughter Yunwei, who was only 2 months younger than me. That's when I realized that for over a decade, while relying on my mother's family's influence to build his career, my father had been supporting a mistress on the side. With a stepmother came a stepfather. My father, once utterly devoted to me out of fear of my mother, had become entirely devoted to Yunwei alone. He neglected me completely. All household responsibilities were handed over to Wu Qing, who pinched pennies on my living expenses and mocked me, with my father turning a blind eye after Yunwei transferred to my class. She and Lu Congwen, who knew each other, became particularly close, which made me incredibly jealous. It turned out that the country villa where my father used to support Yunwei and her mother was right next to Lu Congwen's grandmother's house. Every year when Lu Congwen came down for vacation, he would play with Yunwei. He was originally saddened by Yunwei's departure. Unexpectedly, she transferred directly to our class and became his desk mate. Truly, fate can tie people together across thousands of miles, but without it, even those close by can be strangers. In my past life, I foolishly fell in love with a man who was not mine. I deserved my tragic end. Returning to my room, I sent out an email, Professor Steve. I am delighted to be your student. I have prepared my passport and will soon head to the UK. In my past life, all my life goals revolved around Lu Congwen, causing me to abandon my own talents. The London Dance Academy noticed my dance videos online and recognized my award-winning history. You should be the one to make the final decision, extending an olive branch to me. But to attend Jingda University with Lu Congwen, I firmly declined the professor's invitation. This life, I have come to my senses. It was a world-renowned institution that many dancers dream of. In this lifetime, I must seize the opportunity to shine brightly on the dazzling stage. After sending the email, I took a bath, slipped into a silk camisole dress, and comfortably lay down on the bed, feeling sleepy. The ringtone of my phone went off, and without looking to see who it was, I squinted and answered. After the call connected, the person on the other end didn't speak for a long time. Confused, I looked at the screen. Oh no. I had accidentally answered a video call. On the screen, Lu Congwen's gaze was obscure and unclear. Seeing me look up, he awkwardly turned his face away. I quickly adjusted my disheveled straps and pulled the blanket over my exposed shoulders. What do you need? I asked, feeling a bit guilty. I hadn't expected that the medicine would land him in the hospital. Was he going to settle scores with me? Ji Yunru, I've been lying in the hospital for 2 days, and you haven't come to see me. I wasn't sure if it was my imagination, but his tone seemed slightly aggrieved. I shook my head. I must have heard wrong. Such a proud man like him feeling aggrieved. Who do I think I am? Ji Yunwei was stopped at the door by you. I would have faced the same rejection, so I didn't waste the cab fare. It's different with you. I told them to let you in if you came. Lu Congwen's voice carried a clumsy eagerness. Me? How am I different? Because you were the one who gave me the medicine. So I'll let you in to apologize to me face to face, Lu Congwen said stiffly. I'm not foolish enough to go. Your dad would skin me alive. I sincerely apologize to you. Tell me what gift you want, and I'll send it to you, but I can't come in person. I'm going to hang up now. Wait a minute. Lu Congwen stopped me from ending the call. You still plan to apply for Jingda, right? If you haven't changed your mind, I've filled out the application for you. You'll study at Jingda's dance department, and I'll study law. That reminded me of the day I left the exam hall. I had given Lu Congwen my exam registration number and password. Lu Congwen, if my scores are high enough for Jingda, can you fill it out for me? I pleaded behind him, hoping to gain his favor with a flattering face. He looked annoyed at the time, and fearing his refusal, I stuffed the note into his pocket and ran. I thought he had thrown away the note. To my surprise, he actually intended to help me with my application. No need, I said indifferently. Why? Lu Congwen narrowed his eyes, his look full of danger. Ji Yunru, what do you mean? Don't you want to go to Jingda anymore? What was all your hard studying for? I was about to tell him that I wasn't going to Jingda, that I wanted to study further at the London Dance Academy, but then I thought it over and decided not to complicate things without my father's approval, so I hesitated and said, go ahead and fill it out, but don't submit it. I want to submit it myself. Okay, this is indeed a major milestone in your life, and it's right that you should make the final decision. You should confirm the submission yourself. It really means more, he said. Okay, then I'm hanging up. Wait. Lu Congwen called out to me again. What else is there? Your sister and your mom came to visit me at the hospital today. I'll come by your house to visit in a few days. There's no need to update me about your plans. Goodbye. Xiao Xiao called me, inviting me to her birthday party. She specifically mentioned, your crush will be there too. I heard he got a new hairstyle, looks even more handsome. Who is my crush? Who else but Lu Congwen? Are you saying Lu Congwen is going too? I was quite surprised, knowing Lu Congwen. He's always been rather aloof. Apart from the last gathering organized by our homeroom teacher, he never took part in any class activities. Since our last phone call, I had not contacted him again. After being reborn, I value my life more and try to stay as far away from him as possible. Xiao Xiao, I just remembered. I have an English class tomorrow and can't make it to your party. How about I drop off the gift at your house after class? Not good enough, Ji Yunru, you're about to go study in Jing City with Lu Congwen. Who knows when you'll see each other again? Skip class and come to my party. I had no choice. As Xiao Xiao was the only one who stood by me when the whole school laughed at me, she always said I was a girl with a clear heart, daring to chase what I liked, a courage many lacked. So, when classmates mocked me as a cheap follower, Xiao Xiao would stand up and retort, when you have the courage like Ji Yunru, then you can mock others. Don't think I don't know, you all just secretly pine and don't dare to say a word in person. During my absurd high school years, she never left my side, thus I couldn't miss her birthday. After my IELTS class, I rushed to the hotel. Xiao Xiao's family is well known in Haicheng, so her birthday party was quite grand. I dressed simply in jeans and a white t-shirt, which felt somewhat underdressed. Lu Congwen was sitting on the sofa, with Ji Yunue by his side. He had gotten a buzz cut. His handsome features now appeared more striking and robust. He was tenderly pouring juice into Ji Yunue's glass, a gentle aura enveloping him. Ji Yunru wore a pristine white dress, looking pure and graceful like a noble snow lotus, truly a match of equal talents and beauty. Anyone would comment on their perfect pairing. When I looked over, Lu Congwen just happened to look up and our eyes met. He raised an eyebrow slightly and lifted his chin, signaling me to come over. His demeanor was proud and relaxed. I pretended not to see and chose the farthest seat from him. His expression instantly darkened. His friend, taken aback, teased, no way. Ji Yunru usually can't wait to throw herself at young Master Lu. What's with her today? I calmly smiled. I was young and naive before. Recently I had an epiphany. Decided not to bother young Master Lu anymore. That's impossible. I'd believe the sun rose from the west sooner than believe Ji Yunru doesn't like Lu Congwen. You've been after Lu since freshman year. Everyone knows. What happened? Ji Yunru. Nothing happened. A youthful crush can come suddenly and go just as quickly. Isn't that normal? I said lightly. Really? Everyone was shocked by my unusual response today, looking puzzled at each other and at me, looking at Lu Congwen again. His lips were tightly pursed, his tongue lightly pressing against his cheek, his tone dripping with sarcasm. Ji Yunru. Being liked by you is truly bothersome. I don't even like the snacks you send me, and I've carelessly thrown away the little gifts you left on my desk. It's also a headache always having to explain things to you. It's simply a waste of my time. I used to worry that if I rejected you too often, you might take it badly. Now that you've figured it out on your own, it's good. It shows you still have some self-respect. Though he spoke matter-of-factly, his tone was unmistakably scornful and relieved. As if he had shed a heavy burden, Ji Yunue tugged at his arm, chiding in a moderate tone, Congwen, no matter what, Yunru is a girl, why do you always talk to her this way? Her demeanor and tone made everyone perceive a close relationship between her and Lu Congwen. Pitying glances were cast in my direction. I clenched my fists, nails digging into my skin, yet I felt no pain, only an indescribable awkwardness. Seeing my distress, Xiao Xiao immediately became furious. She was dressed in a fluffy princess dress today, originally aiming for a soft and cute look, but now she stood with hands on her hips, fiercely berating without mercy. Lu Congwen, when Ji Yunru liked you, you never showed her a welcoming face. Now that she doesn't like you, you speak with such sarcasm. What is this? Just because you don't like her, everything she does is wrong. Today I invited you thinking that Ji Yunru still liked you. But now that she has come to her senses and cut her losses, you are no longer welcome at my birthday party. Lu Congwen, always a proud loner, naturally would not stay a minute longer upon being dismissed by Xiao Xiao. He stood up and walked out. Ji Yunue hurriedly followed him, saying, Congwen, wait for me. Xiao Xiao turned back and hugged me. Sweetie, I didn't arrange things well today. Let's not fall for such a cold-hearted man. Later, I'll introduce you to my cousin. He's handsome. Studied abroad, and now manages our family's big company. He's definitely no worse than Lu Congwen. As Lu Congwen was walking by us, he paused upon hearing Xiao Xiao's words. A shadow crossed his eyes, and he gave me a complex look before sitting back down. I haven't eaten the birthday cake yet. I'll leave after having some. Everyone, fine. Then I'll cut the cake now and get this over with, Xiao Xiao declared. A 3-tier rainbow cake tower was wheeled in, and Xiao Xiao insisted that I join her in cutting it. Just as I leaned forward to cut the cake, Ji Yunue, who had just risen from her seat and hadn't yet settled back, suddenly lost her balance. She bumped into me, causing me to smash into the cake tower. Instantly, A messy blob of cream smeared across my white t-shirt, embarrassingly right across my chest. I'm sorry, Yunru, it wasn't intentional, Ji Yunhue said nervously, trying to help me wipe it off, but the more she wiped, the larger the smeared area grew. Many of the boys stared openly. I felt so embarrassed I wished the ground would swallow me up. Xiao Xiao quickly shielded me. It's okay, my sister just gave me a skirt for my birthday, you can change into that, though it was Xiao Xiao's birthday present. There seemed no other option at the moment. I reluctantly went into the restroom inside the private room to change. I stepped out awkwardly, and everyone in the private room looked at me quietly. Their stares peculiar, tugging at my skirt, barely covering my bottom. I turned to Jojo pleadingly. Jojo, isn't this skirt a bit too short? Jojo's gaze was vacant for a moment, glancing from my chest to my legs, swallowing hard. She clicked her tongue. Damn, Ji Yunru. Your figure is simply explosive. My cousin is so lucky to have you. Those legs, that waist, and, she pointed at my chest, combined with that face of yours, you're absolutely a stunner. Even I'm getting a reaction here. The guy sitting next to Lu Kongwen asked in a somewhat raspy voice, Lu Xiao, are you sure you don't like Ji Yunru? If that's the case, may I pursue her? Lu Kongwen picked up his glass, took a sip, and said coldly, go ahead if you want, I don't like her. Thanks, bro. The guy stepped forward, introducing himself, Ji Yunru, I'm Chen Chen. I might not match up to Lu Xiao, but I really like you. How about we give it a try? Jojo quickly shielded me in her arms. Give what a try? Ji Yunru is going to be my cousin-in-law, so none of you guys should even think about it. The guy looked at me deeply, then hesitantly sat back down, wearing this revealing outfit. I said to Jojo, I'm going to head back now. Just as Jojo nodded, a deeply affectionate confession suddenly blared from the big screen, unmistakably in my voice. Lu Kongwen, I like you. I really, really like you. Our college entrance exam results are out, right? I don't know if I manage to get into Beijing University with you, but even if I don't, I'll go to Beijing City with you, Lu Kongwen. In this lifetime, Ji Yunru will only love you, only marry you. Wherever you go, I will follow. I was mortified, social suicide. This video was indeed from me. It was my undying, foolish confession to Lu Kongwen, but it was recorded before I was reborn. I knew Jojo would throw a birthday party and invite classmates, so I had given her this video in advance, showing my infatuation, to play during her party. After being reborn, I got so caught up with preparing to go abroad that I completely forgot about it. Jojo slapped the back of her head. Shoot, I forgot to remove this segment. I specifically instructed the staff to play my sister's video after the cake cutting. What do we do now? Classmates exchanged various mocking looks. Didn't she just say she didn't like him? What's this act now? Acting all aloof before? Was it just playing hard to get? Is this a surprise for Lu Xiao? Lu Zongwen's expression, cold all evening, softened slightly. Ji Yunru, is this a surprise you prepared for me? Actually, accepting your feelings, it's not entirely impossible. His ears tinged with a faint red. I frantically explained, Lu Kongwen, please don't misunderstand. This video was recorded a long time ago. I gave it to Jojo way back and forgot to have it removed. I really don't like you anymore. Really don't like me anymore. Lu Kongwen asked sternly, his fierce gaze locked on my face. Really, truly. I raised my right hand, swearing. Lu Kongwen scoffed, Ji Yunru, one moment you like, the next you don't. Are you playing with me? That night ended with Lu Kongwen driving me home. Because the red miniskirt revealed much of my back, he insisted on draping his jacket over me as we got into the car, all the way. No matter how much I explained, Lu Kongwen wore a look that said, let's see how you play this out. To prove I truly no longer liked him, I blocked his phone number and WeChat right in front of him. He left with his face turning blue from anger. After that, I never contacted him again, nor did I make any effort to be seen by him. Every day, I busied myself with English lessons and part-time jobs, spinning like a top. I recently pawned the jewelry my mother left me, so the first year's tuition should be manageable, but I'm not sure what to do about the tuition for the following years, so after class, I always go to work at a bubble tea shop. That evening, as I dragged my exhausted body home, my stepmother Wu Qing stopped me in the living room. Ji Yunru, a few days ago I showed your photo to President Wang of Wang Corporation, and he's quite interested in you. Meet him tomorrow. He could be very important for your father's business in the future. See if you can charm him with that bewitching face of yours. It would be a way of repaying this family. People can't just eat and drink for free without contributing anything, right? I turned to look at my father. My father, hesitating, asked Wu Qing, isn't President Wang quite a bit older than Yunru? Over 20 years older, in fact, isn't that a bit much? So what if he's older? Older men know how to cherish others. You and I are the same age, yet when I was young and chose you, you hid me away in the countryside, living like a mouse. Have you ever considered the suffering I endured? My father lowered his head upon hearing her rebuke. Wu Qing softened her tone a bit and said earnestly to me, Yunru, since I've taken on the role of your mother, I must look out for your happiness. President Wang might be a bit old and chubby, But he's a caring man. With him, you can look forward to a life of comfort. I looked at her coldly. If he's such a great man, why don't you introduce him to Ji Yunwei? Wu Qing's face turned cold. Is that kind of man worthy of our Yunwei? Yunwei is beautiful, smart, and has a great temperament. Only a man like young Master Lu is suitable for her. Don't overreach. Compared to Yunwei, do you think you even come close? My father kept his head down and remained silent. I knew then that the matter was settled and that resisting was futile. Wu Qing hated my mother and despised me. From the day I stepped into this house, she had been instigating my father to make me drop out of school. Ji Yunru isn't good at studying, and all she has is her looks. If we don't make use of it now, do we wait until she's old and faded? Over the years, she arranged for me to meet various sleazy middle-aged men, trying every way to squeeze out all the value I could offer. Worried about my future and desperate to escape this family, I took the risk of drugging Lu Congwen, hoping against hope to marry him, but I never expected that in my previous life, I would still end up tragically. I had just come of age, and facing the manipulative web of adult interests. I felt utterly powerless. I sighed, give me 100,000 yuan, and I'll meet with this President Wang tomorrow. Wu Qing, her face freshly treated with thermage, displayed a deep sarcasm. So you were waiting for me to say that? Fine, I'll give you the money. Whatever President Wang wants you to do tomorrow, you do it. As I went upstairs, I glanced back unintentionally. Ji Yunwei, who had been silent on the sofa, had a slight mocking smile on her lips. Seeing me look her way, she quickly managed her expression, returning to her usual aloof demeanor. President Wang was less than 1.6 meters tall, nearly 200 kilograms in weight, with a belly like he was 10 months pregnant. From the moment I sat at the table, he stared greedily at every inch of me, his gaze undisguised. He even took the opportunity to pour me a drink to touch my hand. Very smooth, like a slippery little eel. He laughed lewdly. I suppressed my disgust, comforting myself. It's all right, Ji Yunru. You'll be leaving here soon, and now you have an extra 100,000 yuan for security. Eventually, as President Wang led me upstairs in a daze, Jojo burst in shouting. So this is where you were? Ji Yunru, you promised to go shopping with me and stood me up for a date. Let's see how I deal with you. She forcefully grabbed my arm and dragged me out. President Wang refused to let go. Miss, how could you just take her away like that? I was not finished talking with Miss Yunro. Jojo, sorry, uncle. I still have unfinished business with my sister. We need to leave. As she spoke, she dragged me into the car. In the car, I lay fearfully on Jojo's lap, my palms drenched in cold sweat. Jojo. If you had been even a moment later, you wouldn't have seen me again. Jojo gently patted my back, her tone filled with concern. Yunro, your stepmother is too cruel. How could she force you into the arms of such a man? Why doesn't she use her own daughter for such deals? My body shivered as I bitterly closed my eyes. Jojo held me tighter. Yunro, leave that home. I'll take care of you. I wrapped my arms around her waist, feeling a warm surge in my heart. Having Jojo as a confidant in my troubled life is a blessing I no longer regret. But Jojo's father has several illegitimate children, and she herself isn't happy. How could I possibly burden her more? I nestled closer in her embrace. Jojo, it's okay, I just need to hang on a few more days. As soon as I find the right moment, I'll leave that house for good. What about Ji Yunyu? No matter what, she's your sister. Can she really just stand by and watch her mom do evil without intervening? I recalled Ji Yunyu's mocking smile from last night, which sent a chill through my heart. We're sisters without affection, and there's no reason to morally obligate her. You are too kind, always thinking of others, Jojo said, poking my forehead in frustration before holding me even tighter. After getting out of the car, Jojo initially wanted to come in with me and confront my stepmother, but I didn't want her to get involved in the messy affairs of my family, so I firmly sent her away. Before I even entered the living room, I heard Wu Qing's cheerful laughter, peppered with ingratiating words. Were there guests at home? As I entered, I locked eyes with Lu Songwen, who sat prominently in the living room. His handsome face first registered surprise, then displeasure at seeing me in the seductive cheongsam. The cheongsam, a gift from Wu Qing, clung tightly to my figure, accentuating my curves in a way that seemed to beckon invitingly to men, though Wu Qing had given me the dress. Her face now looked displeased. Lu Xiao is our guest, and you're dressed like that. Go upstairs and change. How could you wear this? It's indecent. Ignoring Lu Songwen, I went straight upstairs. After changing, I lay on my bed, lost in thought, and chose not to go downstairs again. I knew Wu Qing didn't want me there, and there was no point in seeking discomfort. After drinking some alcohol, I was almost asleep when a knock at my door woke me. Lu Songwen's cold voice came through. Ji Yunro. Open the door, confused. I opened the door and looked up at the tall man before me. Undoubtedly, he was blessed with perfect looks, the top-tier family background and intelligence to match. My past infatuation with him wasn't without reason. What do you need? Lu Songwen's eyes softened, a tenderness in his voice I had never heard before. I thought your bedroom was the sunny one on the second floor, not realizing it was in the attic. It used to be on the second floor. but after Wu Qing and Ji Yunyu moved in, my bedroom was given to Ji Yunyu. Did you go on a blind date today? How was it? Did you like the person? He tried to appear natural, but the tense line of his neck betrayed his current nerves. It wasn't a blind date, I said. My family wants to give me away to a man 22 years my senior in exchange for a business license. Pity was undisguised in his eyes. I'm sorry, Yunru. I didn't realize things were so tough for you at home. I'll talk to Uncle Ji later and try to lean our family resources towards him so he won't have to degrade himself by selling his daughter for honor. It's okay, I'm used to it. In my past life, my situation wasn't any better, but as my husband, Lu Kongwen was completely oblivious to my suffering because he didn't like me, he didn't care about me, his indifference even led Wu Qing to mock and ridicule me every chance he got, turning me into a joke among the elite circles. So now, his pity, I don't crave it at all. Lu Kongwen cautiously watched my expression. May I come in and sit? It's not convenient, I replied coolly. Lu Tsongwen's gentle facade finally crumbled. He was never good at cajoling women, Ji Yunru. Must you speak to me in that tone? What tone would you prefer? The infatuated one I used when I used to chase after you. Lu Tsongwen's chest heaved with anger, and it took him a long time to calm down, finally giving up. Forget it, I won't argue with you. I came to ask why you haven't submitted yet. The deadline for college applications is tomorrow. I've filled it out for you, just confirm it. It's not hard, I know. Let me review and modify it before submitting. What's there to modify? I've enrolled you in the dance department at Jing University, and the following choices are schools close to Jing University. You said even if you can't get into Jing University, you want to go to Jing City with me? You used to find me annoying, didn't you? That was before, and now. Lu Kongwen faltered, his neck flushing pink. Suddenly, I saw a flash of a white skirt at the end of the hallway. It was Ji Yunyu. Lu Kongwen struggled for a while, finally bowing his head in surrender. Ji Yunru, I don't know what's wrong with me, I get anxious when I don't hear from you, panicked at the thought you might not like me anymore. I want to see you, to keep you in front of my eyes, and not let you run away. Although today I officially came to thank Ji Yunyu and her mother for visiting me in the hospital, in reality, I came to see you. His voice grew softer towards the end, his face grew redder, his beautiful eyes shimmered with a hopeful light, seemingly awaiting my response. The white skirt behind the wall swayed. I gestured for Lu Kongwen to come closer. Can you hug me? Upon hearing this, an ecstatic expression instantly appeared on Lu Tsongwen's forlorn face. Ruru, do you still like me? I knew it. I'm so glad I wasn't mistaken. With that, he bent slightly and pulled me into his embrace. He buried his chin in the nape of my neck, his tone addictive. Ruru, it's like I'm poisoned by you. I'm lost all day. I pretended to patiently pat his back. In my past life, I loved him to the point of madness. He was always lukewarm towards me, and I was constantly afraid of being rejected by him, so every time he put on his suit and was about to leave, I would tiptoe to kiss his chin and rub against him playfully. Often, this would lead to him carrying me back upstairs, and he would skip going to the office. Back then, being held in his arms felt incredibly blissful, but now, lying in his arms, I feel an inexplicable irritation. I squirmed, trying to escape. Don't move, Ro. His voice carried an unnatural embarrassment. I then realized he was physically reacting. I dared not move carelessly anymore. Lu Kongwen was quiet for a while, but the urge didn't subside. He shifted his lips and kissed my neck. My body stiffened, and before I could push him away, he sought my lips again. Lu Kongwen, this isn't the right place. Let's go to the room, I suggested. Lu Kongwen, without ever loosening his grip on my waist, pushed me into the room and kicked the door shut. After Lu Kongwen left, I went downstairs for a drink. Wu Qing was proudly listing the precious gifts Lu Kongwen had brought over to my father. This makeup set must be worth tens of thousands, right? It's not even available in the domestic market yet. And this wild ginseng, I don't know how much it costs. I've never seen such a large one. Seeing me, she lifted her chin with arrogance and said, Yunro, come see the gifts your sister's boyfriend has brought. There are so many I can't even name them all. He must really adore our Yunyu. I smiled. Yes, Yunyu is really fortunate. It seems you were right. Everyone has their own fate. No matter how hard I try, I can't compare to even a finger of Ji Yunyu. Wu Qing smiled contentedly. At least you know your place. I went upstairs and knocked on Ji Yunyu's door. She was wearing a pure white dress, but her complexion was dull and lifeless. I smiled. Can we talk? Talk about what? Her tone was icy, lacking her usual carefree demeanor. You saw everything just now? I said with a smile. Ji Yunyu angrily turned her face away, refusing to look at me. Tell your mom to give me 5 million so I can go abroad. I won't compete with you for Lu Kongwen, I stated. On what grounds? You think your worthless life is worth 5 million? Her tone was more venomous than ever, whether it was my words that angered her, Or if this was her true face showing, on what grounds? Because Lu Kongwen likes me now, I have a better figure and prettier face than you, and I can attend the same university as you. If I decide to seduce him, you'll never have a chance to be Mrs. Lu. Ji-Yun looked at me with intense jealousy. But being clever, she eventually gave in. I'll talk to my mom, but how can you assure me that once you get the money, you will leave? I pulled up the acceptance letter from the London Dance Academy on my phone, because I have a better future and destiny. Looking around the room, which used to be cutesy but now was simply plain, I taunted, sister, don't make me wait too long, or else Lu Kongwen will end up being your brother-in-law. 3 days later, I got the money as I wished and boarded a plane to London. Before takeoff, Lu Kongwen called me from an unknown number. Ro, why haven't you unblocked me yet? Where are you? I want to see you. I've never wanted to see someone so badly. I can't wait another moment. The flight attendant announced the boarding details over the intercom. Lu Tsongwen's tone instantly became tense. Ruru, are you on the plane? Where are you going? London? What are you doing in London? His tone rose unconsciously, losing its usual calm. I'm going to study. Lu Kongwen, I'm telling you one last time, I don't like you anymore. I didn't apply to Beijing University. And I'm not going to Beijing with you. Don't contact me anymore. What do you mean? What about that night in your room? I scoffed. That night, nothing happened, right? That day, to make the act complete, I had let Lu Kongwen into my room, but once inside, I pulled away from his embrace. He calmed himself down for a long time, waiting for his body to settle. Then, I pleaded with him to explain the details of filling out college applications. We stayed in the room for a long time, but actually, nothing happened. In this lifetime, Lu Kongwen never even touched my lips. But with the illusion of that night, I blackmailed Ji Yunhui and gained my freedom. There was a long silence on the other end. Just when I thought Lu Kongwen would hang up, he finally spoke. Ruru, I really do like you. It used to be you chasing me, and I didn't cherish it. From now on, I'll be the one chasing you, and I will show you a sincerity greater than you ever showed me. I remained silent and hung up the phone. Lu Kongwen visited London before the term started at Beijing University, but I kept avoiding him. He spent several days downstairs at my apartment building, finally returning to the country, disappointed. His emails kept coming, filled with his longing for me and his deep love. He even sent me a black card, hoping to ease my financial burden and make my life easier. If this had happened before my rebirth, I would have been profoundly grateful for his concern, but now, his belated affection felt worthless as weeds. I deleted his emails, and sent the black card back. Later, he somehow got my new mobile number and called to say he would visit me in London during the winter break and asked me to wait for him, but in the end, he didn't come. It was only later that I learned from Jojo that before the winter break at Beijing University, Ji Yunhui had drugged Lu Kongwen and they had slept together. Afterwards, the Ji family forced Lu Kongwen to get engaged to Ji Yunhui. Ashamed, Lu Kongwen didn't come to see me. He began drinking heavily and stopped attending classes. Who would have thought Ji Yunhui, seemingly so pure and chaste, would resort to such despicable tactics? Jojo said indignantly. History has a surprising way of repeating itself. Fortunately, this time, I avoided their tangled web of love and hatred and no longer had to drink that bitterly cold seawater. When I heard this news, I had just completed a successful performance as the principal dancer in my troupe. The audience showered me with enthusiastic applause and flowers. In the bustling backstage, I thought I saw a familiar tall figure. He left a bouquet of dazzling roses on the rack by the door and gave me a deep, lingering look. His departing figure was lonely and desolate.